Hello there, my mate Vince here, and in this video today, more Argos Returns. The box doesn't look that big, but it is absolutely full. Look how well that's been packed. I got all this box here from eBay for £20, plus I think it was £7 postage, so £27 in total. So I'm looking forward to getting into this box and seeing what faults they have. Hopefully it should be interesting. Let's get started. So first up we have these two radios here. Retro styling on them. Let's just say they feel like they've been built to a certain price point. I'm not going to be mean about anything. This video is about fixing rather than what quality the products are. I put batteries in both of them and they're not doing anything. And also I connected up AC into it as well, mains, and they're still not doing anything. This thing here is just spinning around and yeah, nothing's happening when I turn it on here or do anything with the volume. Sometimes I get a bit of a pop. There you go, hear that? So there is a little bit of life, and this one here is also dead as well. So they're both dead. Let's take them apart. There's just Phillips screws at the back, so let's undo them and see what's happening on the inside. Now I'm just going to be whizzing through the items in this video, so I'm not going to be spending hours and hours on each one. Hopefully they're going to be honest, normal faults. What's slightly worrying is it looks like the aerial's missing from this one and this one, so it kind of looks like maybe parts might have already been harvested from it, or possibly maybe they have been taken apart and the good parts taken out of one and the bad parts put into another. Right, okay, right, so we've got some hot glue there. That looks like it's connected in here, so hopefully we can unplug that. There and there. Right, we are free apart from the aerial thing here. So we have a transformer, a linear transformer here, but it doesn't work when we've got power. It's not working via here or batteries. So this is for that and this is for the batteries here. So when you plug this in, it must disconnect, this switch must disconnect it from the batteries, is that right? Oh, because it goes to here. Yeah, but saying that, it's not working from here either, so it can't be that. It's not going to be the batteries and that is faulty. So even if the switch had failed to do anything, it's still going to be putting AC into here, is it not? Yes, it is, because they're just the wires there. Right, so it's not going to be that. Let's have a look up here, on and off. So this is the on and off. So what it's doing is turning rotary into linear. There's just a linear switch here. So let's get the multimeter and let's go onto it and see what's happening. Right, so we've got continuity on the switch because, for example, if I go to the extremes, if I go to the very right and that first one there, there's nothing there. But then when I turn it on here and do that, we now have something. So I don't think the switch is at fault. Nothing's jumping out at me. Let's undo these two. These four, I should say. And we have to take off the front. Right, so it is just push fit, so the other one will go on nicely. Right, here we go. Now, what is wrong with you? Shall we check to see if the speaker's okay, just in case the speaker's gone? Let's go to ohms, and we'll get a resistance test on it. It says here that it's an 8 ohm speaker. Let's see if it's measuring 8 ohms, just in case the speaker's blown. Yeah, 8 ohms, 7.9, so it's not that. Got a little crystal here, that must be for the timing of one of the chips. I'm sure that's going to be the audio amplifier chip there. Let's have a look at what this chip is here, and then also I can see what the input is to this one. And then maybe I might be able to, for example, I might be able to pick up a kind of FM or an AM buzz or a bit of a station or something from here, or the input here, and then it might suggest that this chip's faulty or this chip's faulty. So I'm going to type in those numbers there and see what it brings up. And I'm going to look at this one here as well. Right, so this chip here is the thing that's doing all the... This is the thing that's making the radio, basically, doing the tuning and handling everything like that. And this here is the thing which is amplifying the signal. Now, when I look here at the pin out for the bigger chip, we have A out, which is analog output, audio output. And we have analog ground or analog ground. So I presume that one there, which is pin number 12, so it's 9, 10, 11, 12, that one is the one which is doing the output. And if we follow that one, this one here is going through here, through that capacitor, through this resistor to here, and look, it goes to here. This then is connected to here, and it goes up to here, and we know from here it comes back to here, and this is the input. This pin here I think is the input, and then this one and this one is the output to the speakers. This is power in and this is ground. So I'm not getting anything when I go on here. As far as I can see, my Bluetooth speaker seems to be kicking in and kicking out, and I'm not quite sure why it's doing that. Maybe it's because it's not getting the correct signal or something. I don't know. But anyway, if you have a listen. So we're turned on. Right, so I'm turned on now. And if I use the ground from here. Yes, that's the ground here. And if I go on to that one, have a listen. There's not a huge amount of fuzz on it, and it keeps coming and going. And if I use the ground from the output of the chip, which is this one here, and then go on to that, it's the same thing. I could just hear it going bop, bop, bop. So I'm wondering, is it a crystal problem? Because we have a crystal on this side here. And if we look at the data sheet for the chip, it does say number 15 is the thing that goes to the crystal, number 15. So that's up here, and that does go to the crystal on that side here. And it says here, I think it's a watch crystal, because look, there we go. So this chip is a low frequency crystal oscillator integrated circuit, and to be supported by a 32.768 kilohertz or 38 kilohertz crystals. I'm pretty sure that is a watch crystal. So I'm going to try to just take that one out of circuit and put another crystal in, just in case it's the crystal that's stopping it from working. It is possible. I've had faulty crystals before. And you see that the timing of the chip is not going to work properly. Let's kill power to it. Right, let's put a new crystal in there. So whilst I'm soldering in the new crystal, I'll just explain to you why the other radio is taken apart. It's because I've been on this now for probably about 45 minutes, but this video will be heavily cut. Unfortunately, these are not honest fixes. Somebody's already looked at them. For example, the other radio had the bridge rectifier taken from it and also the audio amplifier chip. I will not be attempting a repair on that one because I'll have to buy those two items, and it's not worth it. The radio itself is not worth me spending money on buying two lots of chips. Also, it means I can use this radio now to fix the radio that I'm currently working on. So yeah, this job lot here wouldn't be full of honest fixes. It's already been looked at because the person had a hot air station. Chances are they're probably into their repair. But still, it might make for a more interesting video if the faults are a little harder than some of the other job lots of returns that I get. Right, that's in. Let's see if that makes any difference. No, it's not the crystal. I wonder, could it be that main chip? How am I going to prove it? I mean, it's not working, is it? It's not working, so I suppose how we could prove it is if I was to plug my phone into here and then put the signal into this point here and it starts working, that would say that the audio chip's okay, and for example the speaker and stuff is okay, and then it would even say that this here is okay. Well, no, it wouldn't, because I'll be going in after that. I could go straight in here, though. I'm going to try and do that. Right, so I've got Peter K on here at the moment. Let's see now if I was to use... How am I going to do this? Wow, did you hear that? Wow, wow, wow. Okay, let's put the volume up full. Check this out. So now, using the ground from here and here. Listen.
Look, I've got a big bag of pop and crisp for us. Is Alan in?
Excellent. So that says to me it's this chip that's failed, has it not? Let's check the voltage in, make sure that's getting in there. I'm just going to lower the volume down and let's see if it becomes quieter. Yeah. I can barely hear that now. Wow, okay, that's nice. That's a nice way to do it, isn't it?
I've never liked that fireplace.
Listen to that.
I say you never liked that fireplace.
Fantastic. Right now, so it's going to be the chip that's faulty, or it might not be getting fed with the correct voltage. So let's see if it is. Pin 6 here, you can see VDD. So let's have a look at pin 6. Right, let's have a little look. Ah, 2.5 volts. I wonder, is that enough? Right, I think we've proved this the chip, because look, it says here low operating voltage, 2.1 volts to 3.6 volts using two AAA batteries. So there's enough voltage there to power the chip. So I think it's a chip problem. So what I'm going to quickly do is swap over the chip from this board here. But remember, I don't know that this chip is working, but you never know. I think we've done enough to kind of prove it's more than likely the chip. We've got voltage going into it. When we go on the circuit going out, it comes to life, as in the rest of it comes to life. So I think that's failed. Temperature 500 degrees Celsius and airflow is 80 out of a possible 200. We're already off. The board's lovely and thin, you see, so it doesn't take much work. Let's take this one off. And pop it on here. Well, that was super easy. I'm going to let it cool down for a couple of minutes and then we'll plug the battery back in and see what it does. Well, I think it's cooled down enough to test. Fantastic. Result. Well, there we have it. Fantastic. So I just need to put the old crystal back in and put it in the correct side of the board and put it all back together. So the fault here was all to do with this chip. So in a way, something like this makes it available to make something very cheaply, because this does everything apart from the amplification here. So it doesn't do everything, obviously. It's not converting the 240 volts AC down to DC, but it does a hell of a lot for such a small little package. So yeah, maybe they're more prone to failure because they're so complicated. But yeah, okay, that gave me a little bit of a run around, but we got there. All right, I'm just going to sort out the crystal and stuff, and then we'll get this back together. Here it is in all its retro glory, and the AM is working fine.
We have, we did that a lot of coaches. We have
So I'm going to have to find myself a little aerial for the back. You never know, there might be another one of these in the box. I haven't looked through the box yet. But the very fact that the aerials have been harvested, and the very fact that somebody knew what they were doing by removing the audio chip and the bridge rectifier on the other one, says to me that I don't think it's going to be a very successful job lot for me, because it's always nicer to go into something when nobody's been into it before. But yeah, I managed to get this one working, and the previous person didn't, probably because they didn't take it as far as me, thinking it might be the main chip that had failed. But anyway, not a bad start. So let's move on to the next item. Right, next up we're going to be looking at some portable CD players. There's an abundance of them in here. There must be at least another 15 just on this top area alone, but I've pulled out the first 5 and they all have a variety of faults. So I think it's going to be quite interesting. Now, you might think, who on earth uses these? But look, it's still a current product for $15.99 on the Argos website, and they have 1,395 reviews. So they're people that have bothered to review it. So imagine how many of these have actually been sold. So obviously, even though you think there's no market for them because of Spotify and all the other streaming services, there must still be a market for playing CDs on the go. So I think it's quite interesting. So let's get them over to the mat and start looking at them, because some of these have interesting faults. So I was originally dreading looking at these, and now I'm quite excited because the faults that I've seen already are varied. So I think this could be interesting. Right, the first 2 are going to be easy peasy. They appear to work fine, as in I haven't tried everything. They play, they stop, they go forward a track, they go backward a track, and the volume works. But look, these things are not closing. And the reason they're not closing is because if you look closely, these things should be nice and flat. Let me zoom in. And funny enough, I looked at the questions and answers on Argos, and one of it is, how do you open and close the battery flap? Can you see they should be nice and flat? So the idea is you put them like that and then close it, yeah? Like that. But these ones have just been forced closed like this, and now you can no longer close them like this because they've been crushed down. Yeah, you can see there and there. Not crushed much, so that's not going to take long. Just add a little bit of heat and ease that up a little bit. So I don't want to melt it completely, I'm just heating it up a little bit. There we go. I've seen it change colour. Right, that looks pretty flat. Oh, hold on, I need to heat that one up again, I think. Right, let's flatten that down. Excellent. That actually works better than a working one. So now I have to do the same thing again on the other one. I also have a good 4 or 5 of these in the box with the same issue. I'm going to skip through that now because there's no point in showing you the rest of that. It's the same thing, rinse and repeat. Let's move on to another CD player that has a more interesting fault. Right, so with this one here, it turns itself off. Can you see? It comes on, then goes off. Off again. So it tried to spin up there. So let's see what's happening. Let's try it without a disc. Right, so it's staying on there now. 1 second. Off. Off. Right, let's take it apart and see what's happening. I'm wondering, could this be some sort of shorted capacitor or something? Or is it when it tries to spin up that there's not enough power for it? Would it be like a voltage regulator which is starting to fail? Right, so you turn on, then turn off. Why? It says open, close that. Ah, look, it's spinning. It's spinning, so there's something to do with when the lid's on it. Interesting. Let's put this in. See if it will still spin. Nah, look at that. It's gone off. Why is that? Turn on. Close it. And it's gone off. So the weight of the CD makes it turn off. I don't get that. I don't know why putting this on causes it to go off. Is it just the extra weight then? In which case then, is that a board problem or is that a problem with this here? Let's see what wires are responsible for the actual spindle, and then we can see where they go to on a board, and maybe we can trace back from there. So it's fine, it's just when power's drawn. So when power's drawn, I presume it's from this connector here. Let's zoom in and see what's happening. So I'm thinking that this might be to read the data, but this connection is the thing that actually gives, you know, the motor power. And it's going to be this motor here, isn't it? So it's going to be on the, what colour wires? I think it's going to be on this motor here. It's the red and the black wires. So the red and the black wires are on that side there. So let's plug that in. Which way does that go? Red and black are those two there on this side. So if we trace it from this side here, we might be able to find out what's going on. So these two. So what we got? We've got a via here, test point here. So it must be on this side of the board. Ah, this chip here. Do you think it's a faulty chip? Might be a faulty chip. Because the power goes straight into here, you see. It doesn't go anywhere else, does it? Should we swap the chip out just out of curiosity? And then we've we've proved then what the fault is, haven't we? So luckily in the job lot I have a known working black portable CD player with the same board on the inside with the same chip. So let's take off the suspected faulty chip, put a known good working chip on, and then see what happens. It's coming. There we go. Right, perfect opportunity to shout out the My Mate Vince Massive. The members are kitdigital.com, Kip Hakes and Max Rokotansky, Having Fun Repairs, Chris Seal, Felipe at MrKeeps.com, DJVG, Pigsy, Robert from Timsy's Auto Air, Daniel Watson, Anthony Dean, Bazza2, Russ Melanson, Gaspar Heller, Rickard Bergland, Jacob Colpin, Matt Rawlins, Soul Reaver 555, Angry Altec and Ellis Gardner. Massive thank you guys. Whoa! Whoa! Whoa, 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 what popped there? Is that a capacitor that popped? What the hell? Scared the life out of me. What popped? Must be that capacitor there. Nice. Well, that scared me, that did. It's very hard to work here because it's so tightly compact with everything. Amazingly, I didn't seem to burn that one though, even though I did blow up the capacitor. Part of me is wondering now if that capacitor was a little bit iffy. I know I applied a lot of heat to it, but we'll see what it is, swap it over. And then what we can do is we can, I can always put this chip onto the other one, and if it starts working, we know then the capacitor was to blame. But I think it's more likely the chip. Right, it's 10 volt, 220 microfarad. The problem is I'm not going to have short little stubby ones like that. 10 volt, 220 microfarad. 10 volt, well, I've got them here. They're going to be long. I can probably bend it down though on top of the chip. Yeah, you can see that one's popped the bottom off there. Can you see the bottom's expanded out? Here. So I suppose the electrolyte heated up on the inside and it had nowhere to go, so it expanded and then just popped. And you can see it's nicely marked on the board where the negative is, this big stripe here. I'm going to leave it long so I can fold it over. Right, that doesn't take up any more height there. It's not ideal, but it should be okay. Right, let's see now, are you going to work? Right, let's see. Remember, sometimes I think it works when the disc wasn't on it. Right, so that's there. Let's see if it's going to spin. Yes, it is. There you go. It's a chip. So there's no point. Oh, well, we don't know that. It could be the capacitor, but I think it's going to be the chip. Right, let's put this one back together. So I put this one back together and it is working absolutely perfectly. Every single time prior to the chip change, it would only spin for about, it wouldn't even spin, it would try to spin for about a second and then it would just fail. Now every single time it's spinning fine and playing the songs, no problem at all. It's not jittery, it's not intermittent, it's just working. Now, interestingly, I put the chip back on the other board and guess what? It's all working fine. So, does that mean the capacitor was to blame? It would seem so, but then what's the likelihood of me blowing up the one capacitor that's faulty? Or are faulty capacitors more likely to blow up when you add heat to them than working capacitors? Not too sure. Or is it a case of heating up the chip has caused it to work again, but only temporarily? Maybe after a few hours use it will stop working again. So basically I'm putting a little sticker on one of them that says keep an eye on this one, because I'm not sure if it's actually going to work long term or not. Well, I thought that was an interesting one. I did think it was the chip, but now looking back, I'm thinking it was the capacitor. To do with power, wasn't it? Because the spindle wasn't spinning up with any real power behind it because it couldn't spin the disc. So maybe if that capacitor was feeding voltage into the chip, and if it wasn't feeding good voltage into the chip, maybe the chip couldn't output voltage that it was happy with. So also it's probably more likely that a capacitor would fail rather than a chip. Got to be a little bit careful though, because I have heated the chip up and maybe by heating it up it's just temporarily working again. I am editing this up now with a voiceover and it was done quite a few days ago and it's still working at this moment in time. Hence the reason I now believe it's the capacitor rather than the chip. But time will tell eventually. Anyway, we're going to move on to another item now, and the next item has no power whatsoever. Right now. Right, this one's totally dead, and check this out. Look what's been left behind. Now, my fellow Irish men and women will know who this is. Daniel O'Donnell. Check that out. That is a name I haven't heard of in many years. So both my parents are Irish, so I used to travel back to Ireland every year with them to Mayo and Cork. And basically, I would have the delights of Irish music for the whole journey there. and back home again. I was stuck in a car. What could I do? And my mum used to like Daniel O'Donnell. So I'll give this to my dad. I don't know whether or not he actually likes Daniel O'Donnell, but my mum, who's no longer with us, certainly did like Daniel O'Donnell. So there we go. I was really surprised when I opened that up and seen it. So it was quite a nice little thing, because it's a name I haven't heard of in years and years. Anyway, this one here is completely dead. It's not even attempting to do anything. So this is what I like about faults like this, because right now I haven't got a clue about this, but hopefully if I do enough of them, then I will hopefully know the inside quite well, and it makes it much more likely then that you can fix them. So maybe this might be just a broken wire from the battery compartment, because this one's completely dead. Right now, you are completely dead. Why? Why are you completely dead? Let's see if we have voltage on this part here. We do. Got voltage going into the board. So, is this button here not working? Let's go to continuity. Let's see if we've got anything on that button, because this is the button that turns it on. Button's working, so it's not that. So why have we not got anything? Let's take the board out. See, just because the items are cheap, it doesn't mean that they're boring. Right, let's just have a visual look around the place, because I can't quite get my head around how the power's getting in. Ah! No, that's just glue. Thought it might be a crack. Ah, okay, here we go. Look at that. There's a resistor. Where does that resistor come from? Can you see the resistor's knocked off its pad? That looks like it's done from manufacture. And that does go down to a diode. That does look quite important. So because there's a resistor off its track, it can't go any further. Do you know what? I reckon it's to do with the play button. Right, let's go to continuity. Let's see if this button here is to do with this diode. No, let's try that side. Yes, it is, look. Can you hear? There, it's at the bottom of that diode. That diode there, and that is the one going up to there. Result. I wonder if that was from, well, it had to be from manufacturer, unless it was just barely hanging on and it got dropped. But can you see that diode there goes up to there? So when you turn it on, it's not getting the signal to turn on. So I think this is going to work just fine when we get that back into position. Right, let's get some hot air on that and a little bit of flux. See, this is why I love these kind of job lots, because I just find the fault finding so interesting, even if the item itself isn't expensive. But remember, 20 quid for all of these things, then I'm sure there would be a little bit of money to be made if you could just crack through them all. Because people are still buying them, aren't they, for $15.99 all the time. Maybe if you were to sell them at a car boot sale. Right, let's get this into position. I'm just trying to stop it from blowing away. If I was doing this myself, I'd have it right on top like that, but then you're not going to see it. Oh, come on. I thought it would flow itself into place, but it's been a bit stubborn. Right, I'm looking at the video time and we have a lot to get through. So basically, the reason this isn't flowing into place is because the top of the resistor looks perfect, doesn't it? It looks like a nice resistor with some markings on it. And we have like two nice metal end caps that the solder sticks to. But underneath the resistor, there is no end cap, so there's nothing for the solder to stick to. It's trying to stick to the resistor without any metal on it. So that's the reason why this failed, is because when it was manufactured, a pick and place machine just picks up a resistor. It doesn't know that the resistor is not perfect. This resistor must have been manufactured faulty from the very beginning, and that's why it was never soldered in the first place, because there was nothing for it to stick to. So maybe it passed quality control because maybe it was just barely hanging on, and then through use, or maybe it got dropped, then the resistor just must have sheared off because it was only connected to one side. So I messed around with this for a while, but the resistor just doesn't want to stick. So we need to pop a new resistor into it. It's got the markings on it 202, so that basically means 2 0, and then the 2 means another 2 zeros. So that's a 2000 ohm resistor, 2000. The ones that I have slightly different markings, but it's okay because they're labelled up on the actual container part what they are. So all I have to do is verify that with my multimeter, and it certainly is measuring 2000 ohms. And also I'm measuring the size with my SMD ruler, the faulty resistor to the new resistor, and it's exactly the same. So all I have to do is solder this one in. This one won't be a problem putting in because the resistor is intact with proper metal end caps, so it should be just fine once it goes into place. Right, add a bit of flux. Now there should be enough solder on the pads from before. Right, let's just flow this in. Hopefully now this will go in nice and easy, because you can see we've got full metal top and bottom. Remember that last one didn't want to flow. There we go. Can you see that's gone into place nicely? So the reason it failed is because from manufacture it was probably a bad resistor that didn't have enough metal on one side. It was just made wrong. But let's just see if, let's do Daniel O'Donnell. Come on now, are you going to turn on? Yes you are, look at that. It says open. That's because, there we go. Remember, I haven't got the screws in. 23 and it's playing. Right, 1 second. Where's my headphones? How good was that there? Oh dearie me. Ah! Ah! Right, I think my dad will like that. Now, fantastic. Right, okay. Check this one out. This is a really weird fault. So you put the batteries in, and it doesn't make any weird noises, but now watch. Listen to that noise. Can you hear? It's not spinning. Let's see, is it actually working? Listen to the noise. Is it spinning? No. Right, so once I took it apart and started to exchange a few things, the mystery was over. It wasn't really that interesting, hence the reason why I'm fast forwarding all the way through this one here. But I will show you when I eventually found out what the problem was, and that is right now. Right, well that gear I think looks okay. Is it the one next to it that's gone? Oh, broken teeth here. Okay, well at least we know now. So yeah, that's not fixable. If you have a little look closely in here, you will see that we have broken gears just here. So it's just spinning. Yeah. So this bit all works fine. This bit all works fine. Fine, 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 all the way around. But then when we get to here, it's just going to spin. Okay, I'm not going to waste my time on that one because I think there's going to be plenty of these that that I can't fix. In which case, then I can just use it. I can just use the drive from one of them. So I'm not going to actually worry about that. Main thing is we found out what the problem was. That's the most enjoyable bit for me. Right, I'm just looking through the box for my next victim. Stuff like this is working fine. It's just cosmetically damaged because it's got a crack in it there, but it does actually work fine. Nothing I can do about that. Fortunately, there's headphones all over the place. I haven't actually tested any of them yet, but they're all saying things like one doesn't work, right doesn't work, left doesn't work. And if you look closely here, it says right headphone faulty. But look, have a look here. You can see that it's got a nick in it. So that's the reason. Well, I haven't tested it, but I presume that nick there is the reason why it's failed, just under my finger here. So yeah, maybe I could strip it back, put a heat shrink on it, but then it's not going to kind of fold up nicely with a big heat shrink. But I may look at them depending on how long the video goes on for. But what's interesting is there's so many CD players. I may look at these black ones here, or that might be another video. But so many of these have batteries keeps falling out. Battery compartment. Batteries keep coming out. Another one, like battery cover doesn't stay shut. These all have the same problem with the tabs here that have been bent down so they don't close. That one, this one, all the same. So that there is purely a design fault, because somebody would say, no, it's user error, because obviously you need to do this and then do that. But if it's happening this many times and it's not user error, it's bad design. They could have easily redesigned that to make those tabs stronger and maybe a bit longer. So when you did close it, because what's happening is people are closing it like this down, they're flattening it, and then they're like, oh, you need to go out and in. But by then it's too late. It's already flattened because they're thinking you just hinge it down. So it's not clear. And look how many returns there are just here. So imagine how many returns there's going to be across the country, or maybe even these are sold in other countries under a different name. So yeah, in the design process, when that's being molded, it would probably only cost another penny or two to make these tabs properly. And imagine how much money that's going to save, because it's going to cost Argos money with taking the return in, and it's going to cost the company money because all of this stuff I presume they have to refund to Argos. And well, I don't know how it works, but it's costing someone money somewhere, all for the sake of bad design on these. So yeah, in a different life, I think I would have liked to have gone into like product development on faulty items that come back, on how you can change it, because I did do product design at university for a year, and up until that stage I was really into my product design. But long story short, kidney problems, lack of enthusiasm for studying and all the rest of it meant I didn't go forward with it. But in a different life I would have liked to have done that. These are coming back probably thousands throughout the year. What can we do to this without costing a fortune to make it better? And I think you could probably come up with another design for that, even using the same back part here, just changing this. And I think you could probably come up with a much stronger design that would work, and it wouldn't be so reliant on the customer getting it right every single time. So yeah, very interesting. Anyway, let's crack on. Right, next up we're going to be looking at these Bush boomboxes. Two of them say that they skip, but yet the CDs don't skip in other players. But yet, when I've tried Daniel in here, it's working okay. So maybe, because it is a cheap product, maybe if the CD was a little bit scratched, they might not play it as well as another piece of equipment. So I'm not going to worry too much about those two, unless they start skipping, in which case then I can look at it further. But this one here is an interesting one, because it says that faulty CD player not spinning. Now it's making the right sounds, but it isn't spinning. Again, current product on the market at the moment in Argos for $24.99, and check this one out, 2,692 reviews. So again, if that many people have reviewed it, how many people have actually bought them? I would say maybe even 10 or 20 times that. So although it isn't, you think it wouldn't be that popular, obviously it is. Now check this out. Two things I can see that's wrong with this one. It's not spinning the CDs, and also I can't pick up anything on FM. So first of all, let me show you the CDs. If I go onto the back here, it is making the right sounds. See? But I can lift it up. Oops, I can lift it up ever so slightly without turning it off. I can see it's not spinning. Ready? Watch this. Not spinning. Yeah? So I can hear it clicking. It recognises that the door's shut, but it's not spinning up. But it sounds like, can you hear that? It sounds like it's spinning, but yet it's not spinning. So I'm not too sure what's going on there. And the second thing is, if I go to FM, AM seems to be all right, but if I go to FM, which is this one here, it doesn't matter where I go here. Listen. It's making the right noises. It's like it's trying to tune in, but it's not. So let's fully strip this thing down and try to work out why the FM's not working, and also why, more importantly, the CD sounds like it's spinning up, but yet it's not. It's completely stationary. Now luckily, because I already have 2 of these that appear to be working, even though they were sent back as faulty, I take the top off one of them and I place it onto the faulty one, and it still has the same fault where the disc isn't spinning up whatsoever. So that says to me that it's a board problem rather than a laser problem. Annoyingly though, the other 2 have completely different insides, so you know the chips are different, and there's ribbon cables where the other one has connectors and stuff, so I can't swap any parts about, but I did swap the whole laser over just to see. So at least we know now that we need to fault find the board and we don't have to mess around with the laser. So the thing we need to do is, it is making the noises but nothing's happening. So in this next part I want to find out, does it spin first or does the sled move first? I'm calling it a sled, I'm not sure if that's right or not, but the thing that the laser travels up and down. So you've got the spindle that spins the disc, but you've also got the laser that moves up and down. So does the laser start moving up and down on the sled, or does the spindle spin first? Because that's quite important, because then you see we can work back from that point there. Right, so I've got this one all plugged in. I've moved the sled right away to the very top. Let's plug it in and see if it spins before the sled moves. Right, sled moves first. Okay, that's really important. So watch this. I'm going to move that back up again. Keep my hand away from the actual laser. So it's right the way up the top now. Watch. It spins. That moves down before this moves. Listen. Yeah, and then it starts to spin. You can see it there. And let's just make sure it is going to spin. So it moves towards the middle of the disc. Moving now. And now it's starting to spin. Fine. So we know the sled moves first. So what's going on my one? Is that noise coming from the sled trying to move? Because the sled's not moving, is it? I might have all the terminology wrong, but you know what I mean. So if the sled's not moving, it could also be the chip up top. The sled's not moving. Which is the middle 2 here. Let's see where the middle 2 go to. Right, so I've disconnected the batteries. 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 and 4. The sled is 3 and 4 here. So let's see where you go to. 3. I'm going to have to take this off. Right down here. Right, so it's down here. Let's zoom in on that. Number 3. Is this one here? Why is it coming up there? Ah, these 2 are shorted. Let's get an ohms reading on that. Right, okay. Let me just see if these 2 are shorted, the N2. No, so the ones that go to the motor are 38,000 ohms. These ones are 1.3 ohms, which is the same as my leads touching together. Near enough. Not quite. But it's still, I would say that's near enough. That's a short. Right, so that's what it's reading on the sled on the 41. Now let's go on to a working one and see what the sled is reading. So we'll disconnect everything. This is disconnected from here. This is a sled here again at the middle 2. We can just go onto here. The sled are 1, 2, 3 and 4. What are these reading here? There you go. 33,000 ohms. We found our fault. Imagine if it was a capacitor. Right, and let's go on to the motor. What are these? You know, the spindle. 18,000 ohms. Right, so we now know that it should be 33,000 ohms, and we've got a 1 point. So we found the problem. We've got a 1 ohm short. Let's now see if we can find out what is going on. Let's take this board out completely. Oh, I hope I can edit this down into an interesting video. So I think I'm going to have to take this chip off because look, there's nothing on here. It goes straight through into here. So I think this is the chip that's failed, unless of course there's something else. No, it has to be the chip that's failed. Let's pop the chip off and see what's going on. I just want to take a couple of photos so I know when I put it back that this is pin 1 here with the dot on the chip. I just want to see if it goes anywhere else, you know what I mean, just in case it goes through the chip into something else. I don't think it will do. I think we've proved this the chip that's faulty, and maybe that's why it's kind of getting warm, because it's shorting on those pins there. I was really considering splitting this into 2 videos because there's just so much going on. My other return boxes have sort of edited up quite well because some of the fixes were easy. Unfortunately on this one every fix was hard because it's already been gone through by a repair person, hasn't it? So that's why every single one was challenging. Basically, loads of things I missed out. This chip was getting incredibly warm to the touch. In fact, when I didn't have the heat sink on it, it was near enough melting the glue on the other side, which is holding some kind of weird transistor in. Also, I missed out that 2 of the capacitors were touching, but they were on the same rail. So they looked faulty, but they weren't actually faulty, because some of you might mention that in the video that you've seen it earlier on. I did straighten them out, but that still didn't make a difference. So it took me a long time to actually get to this point here. I was kind of measuring voltage on the spindle, I was measuring voltage on the sled. I even put my bench power supply into the spindle and into the sled at 3 volts, and sure enough they were moving nicely. So I knew it wasn't like a problem with the motors, it was something driving it. But there's more than one chip on this board, but it makes sense if the sled's supposed to move first and it wasn't, and this is the chip that's driving the sled, it kind of makes sense that you need to check around this chip first. So yeah, let's now check the pads now that the chip's been removed to see if that 1 ohm short has gone. Right, meter on continuity just so you can hear the beep, and you can see now it's not going anywhere because this one you can clearly see goes to here and its neighbour goes to here. And now let's just zoom out just to show you that it's going to be completely open. So on resistance, and if we go here, before it was a 1.3 ohm short, and now look, it's completely open. And if we get the chip, I might have to clean it up and zoom in and see. I'll put it onto continuity so you can hear the beep. Right, so it's 3 and 4 from the edge here. So it is these 2. 3, hold on, this is going to be a bit awkward. 3 and 4. Yeah, 1 ohm short. Let me just zoom out. That's annoying that it had to be a chip. I'll see how much they cost. I don't know whether to buy another one or not. Yeah, there you go, 1.2 ohms. Yeah, so yeah, that is not correct. I can't use the chip from the other board here because they're kind of back to front. I had a look, and basically on this one there is a very similar chip, but it's got different markings and it's back to front. So there we have it, it's a faulty chip. If you're wondering why the FM didn't work, it's because the aerial wasn't connected. There's a little aerial sticking out the back here, just a wire, and it wasn't actually connected to the board. It was, it'd been ripped off. So that's the reason the FM wasn't working. Now I've had a look, these chips are not available in the UK, but they are available from China, including postage. There's about £11 or £12 for 5 of them. So you know what? I've ordered them, so you'll see this in a revisit video sometime in the future. It won't take long to solder the chip in, and I'm confident then it's going to be working, because this is a new device. The chip must have been faulty from manufacture, or maybe shortly after use it went faulty. So yeah, I'm pretty confident when I put the new chip in, it will all be working fine. Now I should be ending the video there because of the length of it. It's just that I want it to end on a positive note. So I'm going to have a quick look at the black personal CD players and see if we can fix some of them up. Right, okay, this one here has got another CD in it. It says the David Gates Songbook 2005. When I close it, watch what happens. Hold on, let me turn it on. It's just saying open. Yeah, so it doesn't recognise that it's been shut. And listen to this. Doesn't sound very healthy. So let's take it apart and see if we can find out what's happening with it. Right, I can see a bit of plastic there. Right, I think I know what's wrong with it. Let's have a look in another one. Yeah, okay, right. Can you see here, this is the little button. Can you see that there? That's the thing that says whether this is closed because of that bit there. And if you have a look, that bit is no longer there. But interestingly, this bit is no longer here either. If you look in here, there's nothing happening in here. I'm just going to take it apart and just see. That's obviously the remains of it there. Ah, here we go. Right, this thing. Now, 1 second. Here. It's connected to this bit here. So it goes that way. Wait, I'm slightly confused. 1 second. Let's get that back. Right, that's back in there, fine. But that is nowhere near that switch there, is it? Oh, it is. Sorry, it is. Hold on. Wait a minute. Oh, it is. I think that's it. So I'm just using some super glue to fix that little tab back on. Obviously 97% of it will go on my fingers and the 3% hopefully left over will make contact and glue the little plastic tab back on. But we know that that will only last 5 seconds before it falls off again. So I need to give it some kind of support. I'm going to use the lid of this super glue. I'm just going to, one of the wings, I'm just going to cut a little bit of that off and stick it in there, and that will kind of give it a little bit of reinforcement. As I go through these, if one of them can't be fixed, of course, I'll just use a lid and stick it on this one here, and then it will be a full-on lasting repair. But you never know, with the reinforcing bit of the lid, it might actually work as a lasting repair. Well, I'll let it go off, and we'll see if it makes any difference. Right, I'm still waiting for the glue to dry on that one. I've been going across the others, and they all seem to have the same fault, apart from this one, which seems to be working fine. It's like you're running with it, and it keeps skipping. So watch this. It's recognising the songs here, but when I go to play it, after about, well not after, within about 20 or 30 seconds, it will cut out about 4 times. Now I've got to be really careful with copyright, so I might be muting it, but then I'll play the bits where it's cutting out so you understand what it is. Watch this. Let me go to here. Right, so it's going to start playing. Gone. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, you get the idea. I don't need to do it anymore. Now, what could that be? Is that going to be just the laser itself, or is it going to be something else? So let's quickly take it off, take it apart, and see what's going on. But they all seem to be doing that. These two are also doing that as well. I've got a feeling it's just going to be laser, so I don't think I'm going to be... Well, I'll tell you what, let's see if it is the laser or not, and then I'll finish up the video. So what I'm going to do is, I have a known working one of these, so I'm going to take the laser from that one, put it into this one to see if it works fine. And guess what? It does. So 100% it's a laser problem. Now normally I don't like messing around with lasers because I find it incredibly boring, and it's just a case of you need a new one because they're burning out. Weird thing is, why are these burning out so quick when it's a new-ish product? And also, so many of these have the same problem. It makes me think that maybe in this instance, tweaking the potentiometer and putting more power into the laser might actually be the correct way to do it. So with
like things like PlayStation 1s and PlayStation 2s, when they get to a certain age, the lasers start to fail. People recommend to tweak the potentiometer to get it working again, but then knowledgeable people will tell you you're only going to get short-term use out of that because you're putting more power into the laser, you're more likely to burn it out. But the thing is, if it's not working, like in this instance here, it's not working, then what have I got to lose? Now, I thought maybe it was to do with this kind of anti-jog or anti-skip feature, hence the reason I put the known good working laser in there, because if the breaking up was still happening, maybe it was to do with the chip that's saving the memory that can't cope or is failing. But in this instance, when I put the different laser in, it worked fine, so we do know it's a laser problem. So let's just measure the difference between a good laser and a bad laser using ohms on my multimeter on the potentiometer, and then if there's a difference, I might be able to tweak the bad laser to match the good laser, and then we can see if it starts working. It's always easier when you have a known good working anything to test against.
Well, interestingly, they are more expensive, these ones here. These are $24.99. Oh, and it says here, CD 40 seconds of anti-shock. Well, there we go. That's what it's called, anti-shock. Reviews, $399. Not quite as popular as the other stuff. Right, so this is a good one here. I'm just going to get a measurement on that little potentiometer. Right, so it's these two here I need to get the measurement on. That bit there and that bit there. So let me just zoom out and get the multimeter in shot. And I want to see if it's any different than the 40 one. So I'm going on to resistance. Right, so that's 1.15K. So 1,154. Let me write that down. Right, 1,154 ohms. Now let's see what this one is. It'd be nice if it was different. No, so that's 1,199. It's very similar, isn't it? Yeah, 1,100. I don't think that's going to make any difference at all. Okay. Well, shall I lower it a little bit because it will make it more powerful? Because think about it, if it's 1, it's going to be putting all its power into it, isn't it? 1 ohm. And if it was like 5,000 ohms, it's hardly putting any power into it because of the resistance. I think I've got that right. So that is putting a little bit more power than that. Just in case this is tweaked at the factory and this one is just a little, I don't think this is going to make any difference, but let's just see. Right, let's zoom in and see. I don't even know which way to turn it. I'm going to go anti-clockwise to see what will happen. There, let's just see what that's reading now. Right, 1,348. So I did go the right way, but I went too much. So let's now go clockwise just a tiny little bit. No, what am I on about? I'm going the wrong way. So sorry, I'm going the wrong way. Vince, use your brain. I need to go clockwise. And I need a slightly bigger bit as well. I need to go clockwise. Anti-clockwise made it even weaker. Right, we're back to where we started. Do you know what? I'm going to give that a go. 1040. 1040. Let's just give that a go and see if that starts working. Right, let me have a listen on here. It's working. Wow, okay, listen to this. I hope I haven't got anything confused now. I'm going to put that one into there and make sure that one's working, just in case I've got things mixed up. But listen. So remember before it did like 4 or 5 times within 10 seconds. Listen to this. Yeah, not doing it. There you go.
Right, I'm going to put that one in here. And I am going to, then I'll listen to a bit of Amy Winehouse or something else and see if it is going to skip then. But I think it just needed more power into the laser. But I know everybody's going to say that that's not a fix, and I know it's not a fix. But just in case, because these things do look pretty new, just in case it was a, you know, maybe they were a little bit weak in the factory. I doubt it. I don't think they are. Maybe this has had lots of use and it's just starting to fail now. But you never know. So I put the original faulty one back together and I put the original working one back together, and both of them now are working absolutely fine. I must stress I've only tested for 15 or 20 seconds, so it's not any long-term testing. But prior to this, it was skipping every 3 or 4 seconds, and now you can get 15 seconds through the song with no skips. So it's definitely behaving differently. I will obviously do further testing in my own time. So now, just to see whether or not this was a fluke or whether or not this is the actual problem, I'm going to get one which is playing so bad, and let's get a reading, an ohm reading when it's playing bad, and also let's change it to nearer 1000 ohms or whatever we change it this one to, and then let's see then if it starts playing. Also, what's quite interesting is the anti-skip feature will also not work properly if the laser doesn't work properly, because think about it, it's taking the data from the laser, isn't it, into that chip. So if it's broken coming from that laser, it's going to be a broken audio into the chip. So when you're playing it back from the chip, but it's going to be broken because that's exactly what it picked up from the laser. Yeah, very interesting. Right, listen to how bad that one is. That might be something different. That's awful. Okay, I've got a feeling that might be something different, but let's just see what the reading is on the laser. Right, 1.3. That's well high, isn't it? 1300 ohms. So let's change that. Go clockwise again. Let's give that a turn. Right, let's see what that is. Right, 109. What did we do before? 104. So 109 ohms, and it was 1040 before. Let's run with that and see if it's going to work. Right, what do you think? I think it's going to work. Listen to that. Completely different than before. Forward a few. There, completely different than before. So that's interesting. So it must be storing it into the chip. Obviously, if it's storing distortedness going into the chip, that's what it's going to store. If it's playing it distorted in. Listen. Perfect. Right, obviously I will do more testing, but initially you can see that it's completely different than it was before. And let's just see if this thing here is now going to play. So this is the one that I did the gluing on. Right, is it actually going to close? Yes, it is. Yeah. Okay. Right. Here goes. So. This one's had quite a bit of use. Yeah, here we go. It's the same again. Right, okay, well, I'm not going to do it on that one, but you can hear again. God, it must be so common. Interesting, isn't it? Listen. So this has a fault with this, but it's also faulty with the laser as well. Well, you know what? I thoroughly enjoyed that. Let me finish up this video. My oh my, I thoroughly enjoyed that one. That Argos Returns box did not disappoint. Now, these were the things I looked at in the video, but there's a whole heap of these to still get through in the box. My favourite one by far, I think, was the one that didn't switch on, and it was the resistor, because the pick and place machine must have picked up a dodgy resistor, and that's why there was no signal getting through to turn it on. I've written keep an eye on it here because this is the one with the capacitor. You know, the capacitor popped on me when I added heat. Changed the capacitor out. I've played this for about 30 minutes the other day with a speaker, and it was playing fine then, but I don't know if that one is actually fixed or not. These ones with the laser was a close second behind the resistor because it was so nice measuring, tweaking, and now they're playing, well, I haven't done long-term testing, but from what you've seen in the video, they're playing perfectly compared to what they played before. And also, the multimeter doesn't lie. You've seen the ohms reading was different. So whether those lasers are burning out already, or whether they were set wrong at the factory. I'd like to say that they were set wrong, because would they really burn out that quick? You can see these are new items. How much use would they really have had? So you never know. They might actually be a lasting repair. Now, could you make money on something like this? Ordinarily, I say no because of the amount of labour that was put in, but I think that these ones here are going to be fixable very easily, and there's loads of them. There's absolutely loads of them. These are £25 new, these are £15 new. I appreciate I haven't got the boxes for all of them, but surely you're going to get about £3 for each of these at a car boot sale, and maybe £5 for these ones. Remember, £20 for the whole box plus £8 postage, that's £28. These two things already look like they're working. So I think in this instance here, you would actually make your money back. I don't need to, I make more than that on the videos. I'm a YouTuber, so you already know that I make the money from adverts and sponsorships and stuff like that. But it's still nice to know if you could possibly make money. And there was no favours done here. The seller doesn't know who I am. This was bought the same as you buying it from eBay for £20 plus £8 postage. So there we go. In my opinion, another successful Argos Returns box. If you enjoyed this one, give it a big thumbs up, and hopefully I'll be able to do more again in the future. Although they're cheap items, I think we can all agree that sometimes they can have interesting faults even though they are cheap items. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.
Leaving all my worries, I prepare for something new. Whatever it was that held me back, I'm sure it wasn't true. Holding on too long and unresolved questions hold you down. What could have been a friendly smile has turned into a frown. I'm moving on and on. On and on. I'm moving on and on. On and on. I'm driving in my car, the road is long and full of dust. The landscape changes around me, on and on, I feel like